Thanks for having me, guys. I've been a fan of what you guys been putting together for a while. I'm happy to share what we're up to at Badger. A little bit about myself. Let's call it newish to DAOs. I'd say in the last year, I've become relatively obsessed with DAOs, and I believe it's the future of business and how collectives are going to come together to create value in the world. Nonetheless, we started Badger. We started working on Badger about 7 months ago now. Me and a few friends that have been in the space quite a while, and we brought it to life in December of this year, December 3rd. And as Ingomar suggested, we're 100% focused on building the products and infrastructure to accelerate Bitcoin and open finance or decentralized finance. And that's our absolute focus. So we've seen some pretty rapid growth since we've launched. We launched a little under 40 days ago, like I suggested. Today, our community is over 6,000 strong. They're extremely active in every decision that the DAO makes, from things around treasury to different types of service providers, to what the strategy is as relates to new product launches and the designs of the logos of those launches and the tokenomics of those launches. Really everything that Badger does, the community decides upon and votes with their Badger tokens. So let me just go into us a little bit. I shared kind of what we've been about, but we're close to about 2,500 holders, a little over 2,500 holders, and a majority of those holders have staked inside of our core product. So as I mentioned, we're focused on building products to accelerate Bitcoin for DeFi, and our first core product that we launched with is what we call set vaults. And essentially it allows users to put their tokenized Bitcoin to work. They deposit in our non-custodial vaults, and then we run active yield producing strategies for those users. And we currently manage about 15,000 Bitcoins, or about $650 million inside of our application. We've had almost 6,000 users of the app since we've launched a month ago, which today makes us a top 10 DeFi protocol by total value locked in our system. So right now, that's our core product. Moving forward, we're going to be releasing DIG, which is a synthetic or rebasing Bitcoin that uses an elastic supply to try and align close to the target price of Bitcoin, and it'll be the first of its kind. We're going to be launching that within about a week. I mentioned about the Badger sets, but really our goal here, guys and gals, is to be the one-stop shop for all things Bitcoin on Ethereum for now, and other chains moving forward. So our app intends to turn on things like the ability to mint tokenized Bitcoin using native Bitcoin, which we intend to launch this month, along with quick deposit and withdrawal. So very similar to Zaps, where smart contracts allow the user with a click to go from any asset into an LP position into our vault without having to do much more than click a button. And then finally, the ability to borrow stablecoins against your existing vault positions with Badger. And that's what our products are all about. And as I explained, here are the set vaults inspired by what Wi-Fi is built and what Yearn is built, and DIG as well. As you can tell, we're all about Bitcoin, so the DIG logo is really reminiscent of the Bitcoin logo. But DIG is going to be an interesting experiment. With Badger, the way that we launched initially, we believe very strongly in this idea of a fair launch. We didn't raise $1 of capital. Everything that we've done since the beginning was open source and continues to be open source. It's run and managed by the community, by the token holders, and essentially there wasn't a pre-mine to which anybody got any coins. It's 100% going to the community and the people that are help leading that community as well. So with the launch of DIG, we're going to be doing the same thing. So anybody that's used our app in the last month will be receiving DIG based on how much they've used our app and how long they have. And then really the only way to earn DIG is by continuing to use our app moving forward. And that's how we like to continue bringing the right type of people that share in the same values of our DAO, that believe in Bitcoin as collateral and open finance, people that support public goods. We're big proponents of Gitcoin, and actually have allocated almost $5 million to Gitcoin from our total supply of tokens. and then as well, participate in decentralized governance. So those are, those are really our core values, and we try and bring the right community people around. Another big thing that we love is, of course, NFTs. So we launched a set of NFTs with Meme last month that did extremely well. I think we've, netted almost $400,000 in sales of our NFTs. But really, it's not about, this really cool Badger art, but it's more about, what value you get in our ecosystem or in our protocol and other protocols when you have this NFT in your wallet. So we started it off by saying you needed to collect all 6 to unlock a honey badger pot that had 1 Bitcoin worth of badger in it. And that drove a lot of excitement around people to mine and collect it. And then now with the launch of our new product Dig, we're going to be distributing a percentage of the token supply to anyone that either holds these NFTs or minted these NFTs through the initial genesis process. And then moving forward in the future, we're going to be leveraging not only these NFTs, but NFTs in general, so that users that have those in their wallet, when they're connected to our app, they get additional benefits. They get access to exclusive products. They get boosts inside of the app, like additional interest or APY on the Vault product, for example. So we want to continue pushing NFTs, and I'm a firm believer in the intersection between NFTs and also decentralized finance applications. Another key thing is we've been a big proponent for insurance. Yes, we're a DAO. Yes, we're a DeFi application, but in the end of the day, all this stuff is so new, and we continuously push users to try and get additional protection when using our products. So we've pushed with 2 decentralized insurance providers, being Cover and Nexus Mutual. And I think there's been about $12 or $13 million worth of insurance purchased with those platforms, making us one of the most liquid protocols on their insurance platform. And then we also launched one of the largest bug bounties ever in DeFi with a $500,000 bounty in partnership with Immunify last week. And we're going to just keep continuing. So I talked about some of the achievements, but in general, what I'm most proud of is the ability for us to launch an open collective and DAO that is generating revenue and profit, that has extremely active community participation. So these numbers are a little off, but we generated 1.3 million in profit last month off of our single product. And that profit's going to be distributed, obviously for operations, but distributed back to app users as well. And then as we launch subsequent products in the next month and months to follow, we are going to have the same methodology, and we anticipate this profit and revenue to grow exponentially. And that's going to be distributed to the token holders, which in turn govern the DAO, of course. And the long and short of what I'd love to spend more time talking about is how can anybody get involved? So we're big proponents of, and our goal really in the end of the day is to make Badger the environment for all the best builders in the space to come together, to collaborate on building products specifically for bringing Bitcoin as collateral to open finance. And we have a variety of different incentives in place at Badger for people just to get involved, right? So if you just want to jump in and do any types of tasks, we have a bounty board for smaller and medium-sized tasks, and those span from technical to non-technical things. Of course, we also have our job board, and these are more, medium-term type involvements. And once again, all the details of those job descriptions are there. And what I'd love to share too is the incentivization pools that we put in place. So we have something called the developer mining pool. And this developer mining pool actually has about $25 million worth of Badger in it, almost as much as the entire liquidity mining event, which represents 15% of our total supply. And the only way people can earn from that pool is if they come to the DAO and build products with us. And if those products generate revenue based on what the community votes for emissions from that pool every month, they'll earn a percentage of those tokens, plus anyone that builds products with us shares in the revenue of those products. So a couple examples, we had a builder come to Badger last month and build 2 new vaults for our Vault product. Those vaults were Sushi Swap vaults. And those vaults today hold about $175 million and have generated almost $400,000 in profit in the first 3 weeks. That's being shared with that developer. And that's, you know, a process of them building and accelerating that product with us. And then, of course, that developer is also earning from the developer mining pool, which the community voted to have 10,000 Badger tokens, which is worth about $85,000 distributed to builders for that month, which he's participating in as well. So I'd encourage anybody and everybody, anyone and everybody, excuse me, to get involved, come say hello, join the Discord. Like I mentioned, there's about 6,500 people in there now. Join our forum. There's a lot of active discussions, and just come say what's up. We love connecting with other people that believe in the power of decentralized finance and also decentralized governance.
That was awesome, Chris. Does anybody in the chat want to like voice a question or comment? Or how they found out about Badger DAO? Is, you know, this is the first time?
Okay, I have a really quick question. How is your, and I granted I was doing something, I had to do something else while I was listening, but what's the biggest difference between your DAO and every other DAO in the world?
Our DAO has a very focused mission, which is to bring Bitcoin to open finance and to build the products and infrastructure to do that. And I think another thing, you know, with our DAO is we are extremely focused as well around DeFi, which there isn't that many that that have that level of focus as well. And we're also focused around profit. Like I suggested, we generated 1.3 million in profit last month, and we anticipate to, you know, 5 to 10x that over the next 6 to 12 months with all new product releases. So yes, like we operate as an open collective that makes decisions to better the DAO moving forward. But as well, those same individuals are focused tremendously on creating profit and sustainability and innovating the types of products that they need in this space.
Big Sky asked, what is the long-term plan for scaling governance for Badger DAO?
For steering governance? Is that what the question was, Ingemar?
For scaling governance for Badger DAO.
Oh, for scaling governance. Well, first and foremost, you know, we want to become a true DAO, which we are not today. When I say become a true DAO, you know, we operate more in a pseudo DAO format where we have, you know, different multi-sigs that have control of different parts of our infrastructure, and majority, if not all of our voting happens off-chain through Snapshot, although we of course leverage users' tokens to participate in that. But our intention, and we actually have this all built, we're just really slowly taking this approach, is then moving over to an Aragon DAO and having all votes being on-chain with subsequent, you know, off-chain accelerators. So that's the, you know, step number one. And then as we continue to grow, the long-term vision really is to have people that, you know, that like I'd say hundreds of people working actively on different parts of the DAO and contributing and collaborating with one another to make these types of decisions, but not necessarily just as a participant, but more as a leader, and seeing how this DAO actually operates as a multi-million-dollar open business. That in itself is something that I don't think we've broached on as an industry yet. And as we start to move towards that, you know, those types of systems and infrastructure and scalability pain points are going to come to the surface, and I'm looking forward to tackling them.
Hello. Are you guys considering, may I ask?
Sure, go ahead.
Yeah, are you guys considering investing in, since it's a crowded place, aggregators, like investing in competitors like Farm, Yearn, or Alpha, for example, to mitigate risk? Are there any thoughts about that?
When you say invest in, what do you mean by that?
Allocate a part of the treasury in their governance tokens and participate in their governance.
Yeah, most certainly. We actually do that already. So with Sushi, for example, when a user uses our Sushi Swap vaults, we have two vaults, the WBTC ETH vault, which today has about $150 million in it, and then the WBTC Badger vault, which I think is about 10 million. We don't sell the sushi that's earned through those strategies. For X Sushi, which is sharing in the rewards from their AMM, and then we have a percentage of those tokens that are distributed to the DAO as a performance fee and a fee from the DAO. And the same thing with Farm, with the Harvest. And if you were to take a look at our recent Badger improvement proposal on the forum, we've actually suggested to not sell those and to maintain those for the purpose of meta governance. And we want that to continue moving forward. I think a partnership is much more than, you know, using each other's protocols in an open fashion, but it's also this idea of helping each other make the right decisions and grow such, you know, early protocols and early experiments. So that's absolutely our intention.
So Crypto Pete asked, will there be more opportunities to farm Badger NFTs with Meme?
I've definitely, we've talked to Jordan and Co about a variety of other initiatives together just because of the success of the first initiative. One of the things that I've talked about actively on the forums and also in our Discord is this idea about Badger levels. And Badger levels are where you collect points by doing different activities, both in our protocol and in other protocols. And you would imagine those to be things around tokenized Bitcoin and decentralized governance, for example. And as you hit certain point thresholds, you then earn a new level. So you get 100 points, you're level 2, 1,000 points, you're level 3, so forth and so on. But once you hit that level threshold, you're actually distributed an NFT. And then when you use our application and potentially other applications from partners that participated in this, you'd receive additional benefits like APY booths, additional reward drops, and things along those lines. So, you know, we had nothing but a great experience with Meme, and I'd love for them to work with us and collaborate with us to do something along those lines moving forward.
Awesome. So Badger asked, how often will DIG rebase and how is that done? How is that transaction done?
So as it relates to the rebase, it rebases once a day. One thing that's important to understand about DIG is completely community owned. So all the parameters, how often rebases, what the rebase looks like, the actual rebasing mechanics, those are in the control of the DAO. And those are in control of the token holders, Badger token holders in particular, not DIG. So they could vote to make and propose different changes to that. But at least for the start, it's going to rebase every 24 hours, and it's going to be a 10-day rolling rebase similar to that of Ampleforth. And I see a couple other questions around DIG, you know, obviously when DIG, that's a pretty common one. But what are the benefits of having DIG as a pair to BTC on the DeFi market? Well, DIG is meant to align with the price of Bitcoin. So having it on the other side of the pair is absolutely critical because on a lot of these AMMs like SushiSwap and Uniswap, you have to put 50% of each token into the pair. So when it launches, it's going to launch with 1 DIG equals 1 BTC. And as people continue to put it into that pair, unless there's, you know, a lot of price changes between the two, you know, the intention is anytime liquidity is added, it's going to be added at a 50-50% variable. So that's why it's critical there. And it's also critical for the active vault strategies that we're going to be running. Like we're almost always going to be trading DIG on behalf of the users if they choose to, you know, deposit in our vaults against Bitcoin. If that's selling DIG when it's in a positive rebase to start building a WBTC reserve so that when it's in a negative rebase, we can buy DIG and push it forward. You push the price up for a positive rebase. That's what the WBTC pair is going to allow us to do. What's the measure taking to discourage dig dump upon launching? Well, we're going to take a lot of learnings from what happened with Badger. So a significant portion of the Badger airdrop was not dumped, and it was actually staked in our ecosystem because we had liquidity vaults that had high APY, and then also non-liquidity vaults or just the Badger only vault. And with Dig, it's going to be the exact same thing. So we're going to be launching the airdrop to users first and foremost that have used our app and then have been the most active users and stakers of our app. So they already know how to use it. There's a level of trust with Badger, and they also believe in the future of what we're building. So that in itself, I think, is going to help. But we're going to have 3 subsequent vaults, 2 LP vaults for Dig paired with WBTC, and then also a Dig only vault. And the Dig only vault is extremely exciting because that solves one of the major issues with rebasing assets, which is composability. So very shortly after Dig launch, extremely shortly after actually, we're going to be accelerating BDig, which is your vault representation in the Dig vault, in other DeFi protocols and centralized crypto products. So very quickly, users will be able to deposit in the Dig vault, which will happen at launch. But then that BDig token will be earning Dig rewards, 100% compounded. We'll potentially see their Dig supply expand or their Dig position expand through rebasing. And then, of course, they could use it in different places. And if we're able to uphold the value of Dig, that Dig is going to be pretty, it's going to be pretty valuable to those users. And then they're most likely going to want to use it in other places. And if you're using it now as collateral somewhere, for example, it becomes more of a primitive asset to which it's harder for those users to move out of that position. One, because it's nice and comfy, they're earning rewards, they don't have to worry about the elasticity. And then at the same time, they're able to unlock value through those borrowing and lending protocols to then further use assets inside of DeFi. So those are the things that we're attempting to do to prevent a massive change in the selling of Dig. When Badger listed on Binance, it's a pretty crazy question. I have no clue, nor do we spend any time actively talking to centralized exchanges today. And new version of V2 of the app is not showing the deposit button beside the LP token in the set vault. That's because you need to have that token or that asset in your wallet. If you don't have it in your wallet, it's not going to show the deposit button. We are actively working on some feedback from users. As with anything with the new UI, we collected feedback prior, but now that it's out in the wild, we're going to continue iterating on top.
I don't know if you answered this already, but Cameron Tennis asked, what is the process of Badger DAO integrating with non-ETH chains? Because there are some like big pro Bitcoin projects that are DeFi but not Ethereum.
Yeah, listen, we're super open to it, right? Like it's just a process of them collaborating with us and joining our community, actively participating in some type of proposal or having conversations with other community members of what that could look like. And if the community digs it, no pun intended, then it's going to happen, right? If the community doesn't dig it, then it most likely won't happen. It's just kind of how it all works. But I, as a community member, I'll say, I don't have any negative outlook around or collaborating with other folks.
So Jake asked, are you interested in supporting public goods with other DAOs? He's with TEC and Common Stack, and would we want to participate in their proposals?
Yeah, we're always open to collaborating with other groups that share the same values as us, for sure. I'd have to look into it in more detail, that's for sure. But
yeah. And would reaching out to you best be in Discord then?
Yeah, I'd say so. I feel like early on, I was on a DAO Alliance call. There was a lady there. I can't remember her name. I don't want to say Jessica, but I think it's Jessica. But anyways, we talked about collaborating early, even before we launched, and then just with our launch and everything, it's just been bananas. So we haven't caught back up. But yeah, just understanding how we could help and what it could look like, for sure.
Also, by the way, So the Badger DAO has a forum, a discourse forum, forum.badger.finance. And that's a great way to voice like your ideas in front of the whole community and like a proposal. And like one great way of like getting an idea through to a DAO is by like just getting the community behind it. So like a really good thread, you know, with all of your ideas down, and like that's a great way to get support from like everyone. And yeah, Chris is one of the leads, and like he'll definitely like support you if he's really about it. But you know, it's a DAO, and the DAO makes decisions together. So forum.badger.finance.
It's great to have so many people join you. This is fantastic. I see some familiar faces, some friends in the audience. Arbin, I see you. David, Namdar, I see you over there. Nice to see you, buddy.
Adam asked whether we'd be able to move between vaults in the future without having to give up multipliers.
Most certainly. So we're actually actively working on a new multiplier model. The name among some of the people working on it is Badger Boosts. Anyways, so just from a technical standpoint, how do the multipliers work today? We have two things. We have a vault, and then we have what we call a geyser. Today, you put it into the vault. So let's just use Badger, for example. You put Badger in the vault, you get a token back. It's B Badger, right? The B represents your vault position. But it's a new token. It shows that you're deposited in the vault. We then say, stake that in the geyser. Really, the only thing the geyser is being used for today is to track the multiplier. The problem with that is when it's in a geyser, composability becomes an issue. Now, in the first couple months, that really wasn't an issue because we weren't actively looking for composable, and you know, not for nothing, we weren't sure how the vaults are actually going to do. But now with so much capital in there, we see the value in being able to bring composability. So what we're actively working towards is eliminating that second step, the geyser staking step, and making it where users just have to deposit in the vault, and then gathering data similar to what we're doing for the dig drop, where we take a ratio of how much Badger has been staked and for how long to determine on a scale if this user is more of a farm and dumper, or is this user a believer in the project and actually actively staking. And then based on that score, we're going to be distributing more rewards. And that's essentially going to be the multiplier moving forward. And the reason why there's a benefit there is because it will span across all your sets. So your multiplier won't be tied to that one position anymore. You can go in and out, no problem. And you'll still be able to maintain your multiplier because it speaks specifically to how much you've had staked and for how long. And then of course, you'll be able to then use those vault positions in other apps, in our own app to borrow stable coins and so forth. And you only have to do one transaction, which cuts the gas costs in half for when you're actually depositing, withdrawing from our app. And we're going to start with Dig. So Dig's not going to have a geyser. Dig, you just deposit in the Dig vault and that's it. And 100% of those rewards are going to be auto compounded back in your position, which you can claim upon withdrawal. And then you can of course use that token wherever that token should be or could be used. Crypto Pete, yes, that did affect your score. At the same time, anyone that used B Badger inside of meme is getting it's getting 0.5% of the total Dig airdrop. So that should make up significantly for any lost multiplier rewards. Gravity said, any plans to have vault zaps? 1000%. That's probably the third product on the docket. So we got Dig coming out in the next week or so. Then we're going to be launching minting in the app with RenVM to go from native Bitcoin into tokenized Bitcoin. And then we're actually working with a very well-known group that makes apps, and we'll wait to share their name when it's ready. But we've pretty much developed that already. So you're going to be able to go from ETH, USD, or any tokenized single Bitcoin directly into our vaults with one click. And same with the withdrawal. And these are all going to be done through the Zap smart contracts. So I'm really excited for that because you can start understanding, you know, just the experience for users and how we can onboard thousands of more people that aren't in DeFi, right? You come with some Bitcoin You deposit it, it becomes tokenized Bitcoin. All of a sudden there's a notification, hey, stake this to earn 30% interest. It's like, oh, great, cool. They click a button, automatically puts them in the vault, and they're seeing rewards come through. Like, it's such a quick process. Same with going out. And then while they're in there, now there's all these additional benefits. Hey, you know, you're staked, you're earning, but guess what? Do you want to continue participating in DeFi? Sure do. We'll use that vault position to borrow some stable coins and actively get involved either in our protocol or in other protocols, and open up that value loop for them again. So zaps are really important, and we're super excited about that as well. When is XSushi reward tokens being added to the account? That's going to be pretty soon. We're actively working on updating that within the app. Same with Farm. Will REM be more of a priority over WBTC in terms of compatibility? We're agnostic, to be totally honest with you. I've had great experience working with both groups. REN more so, not in the quality of the experience, but I just have worked more with them. They've both been great. But yeah, like, you know, we're agnostic, and we encourage any groups that are building Bitcoin for open finance, if it's Ethereum or not, to come join the community, get involved in the conversations, and also just be conscious of the fact that, like, you know, our team can only do so much. We really rely on the community to push things forward. So all these products that I talked about today are products that are being led by community members, and they're building them, you know, with our support, and of course, like, with our internal review processes and all that type of stuff. But for the most part, it's 100% built by them, and they're going to share in those revenues and profits. And yeah. When snapshot voting rewards, you know, we really haven't had that conversation come up much, rewarding people for governance. I'm not against it. I think it's a good idea. I think there's a lot more that needs to be determined before that happens, like distributing fees from products to Badger Vault stakers, as well as, like, you know, really nailing down this emission management plan, the buyback program, you know, what we're doing with this massive treasury that we have, and how we're diversifying it and using it in DeFi, and protecting against certain big downslopes and things along those lines. Any other questions? When is Badger merchandise? Very soon. We're going to be launching a Badger merch contest, and we're going to have the community build the merchandise designs, and then we're going to turn them on. We've had some friends of the network reach out suggesting they'd be interested in building the merch. I too have had a crypto merch store for the last few years, so it's pretty easy for us to turn it on. It's just a process of having the community build them and bring it to the forefront. Can you detail what's being done and what is to come in terms of security that you spoke about at the beginning of launching? Metafactory, by the way, is really dope. We like it a lot. What are we doing around security? A ton. You know, baseline stuff, which in my opinion is not even close to enough, is audits. So we've conducted two. Our second one, both, you know, went really well. Our second one we're going to be releasing publicly, but it's completed already. Our third one is underway, and it relates to the sushi vaults, also the overall system, a rewards tree, and then also the new dig stuff. And that's going to be more of an ongoing security practice. So it's going to be almost like a you know, an external security relationship with a smart contract auditing firm, rather than just like a one-off audit. We've also really pushed the boundaries around a few different areas. So one, we did a very extensive non-smart contract-based security assessment and audit that looked at every piece of our infrastructure, from the people behind it to how decisions and transactions are being made, and the overall structure and the hardening of and the potential weaknesses within different parts of our infrastructure. And we then we started that, you know, almost 3.5 weeks ago, and we've been subsequently taking all those recommendations and making appropriate changes. So that was super beneficial. And then we're going to have like you know, in the next 3 weeks, like, okay, what did you change? You know, is there any gaps still, whatever it may be. The other thing that we're doing is more of a proactive approach. We call it the Badger War Room. And we've gathered some of the most experienced and well-known white hackers in the space that have come to the rescue for a lot of other DeFi protocols. And we've built our room to be proactive. So what does that mean? You know, we have communication channels, encrypted communication channels across a variety of different We have some functions in place that we're turning on for people to respond at a contract level very quickly without having to wait for, different people that are on the developer multi-sig to be available for certain actions to stop bleeding, for example. We're going to have like different roles and responsibilities around emergency contact support and external communications. And then of course, just having it all set up to which, there's an environment where they can replicate the security vulnerability quickly, which means they need to be up to speed with our systems. We need to have test environments already in place. We need to have a contract repository there, and the ability to get a hold of people. So we've set that all up. And then finally, we're going to be announcing shortly our advisory board that's heavily focused on technologists with deep expertise around security and that have run or currently run some of the largest projects in DeFi. And they're ones that are very, very familiar with systems like ours that have been around the block in the short term that DeFi has been rocking and rolling in trying to solve and tackle some of these security issues. So we're really grateful to have people like that supporting us and there to share their domain expertise and their experience. So yeah, that's what we're doing around security. No diggity, got to bag it up. That's pretty funny. I'll just give a shout out to that comment there. Edwin thanks for being so forthcoming. In the end of the day, if there isn't transparency, what's there, right? Like you can't run an open collective, or there can't be, I'm not running an open collective. There can't be an open collective unless everyone's transparent across the board at a technology level and at a communication and decision level. And, if I wasn't transparent, like how could you expect folks to be transparent? So. Someone's pouring some Vector cereal, it sounds like, in the protein in. If there's no other questions, I think that's a good time in. Anybody else want to chime in or chat or say what's up?
Hey, Chris, this is Arvin. Just thanks again for all the hard work. We're excited to see version 2 live. I saw some bugs in regards to the staking and deposit process where the value of the badgers basically kind of reduces itself in that process. So are those kind of bugs that you guys are aware of and are dealing with?
Yeah, what it is, Arvin, is it's a process of converting Badger to B Badger, right? So B Badger is worth, like one B Badger is worth more than one Badger. So there's the conversion process, like when you were to take Badger and press deposit, that subsequent amount of Badger there now is represented in the B token, which should be less than the amount of Badger that you put in. And that's the differentiation in what you're seeing. We're actually working on putting in some tooltips in there. So when you're scrolling over stuff, it'll say what exactly it is and what the difference is and things like that. But thanks for that feedback. We definitely have some iterations to put in place.
Sorry about that. I was having a meeting and calling you at the same time, so it wasn't working. So after 4 is fine. What time do you think you're going to be here?
4-ish.
Yeah, that's perfect. That's
Marina,
perfect.
you're on
I don't think that question is for you.
I have a very important meeting at 3 o'clock.
Marina, you're not on mute.
Before 4, just so you know. There's a lot of food, so please take everything out of the car.
Okay.
Like a lot more than usual.
Ingmar, who runs the Zoom? You can mute her if you want.
I need.
Yeah, I'm working on it.
That's not the reason I called you. It was an afterthought. My carts that I bring my food in.
What's your name, Marina?
Have a couple of problems.
Yeah.
One, you would not be able to fix it until next time because you need to see it. The other cart, I think.
Hey, so Chris, another question on the sushi in regards to the LP incentive for DIG.
Yes.
How is that utilized then in regards to the reward structure? Meaning, like, how do you actually infuse the sushi rewards into the Badger / DIG rewards? Is that kind of a liquidation flow, or can you explain the logic of that?
Yeah, we're taking a similar approach, Arbin, to what we did with the Badger Sushi Swap Vault. So essentially what's going to happen is we're going to have WBTC dig pool on Sushi Swap. Right. That is then incentivized with sushi, by sushi, not by us, right? And we're then going to incentivize on our side Badger and dig. We're going to be taking a percentage of the dig that's earned and selling it subsequently for WBTC and injecting that back into the LP position on sushi like we do today, so that when you eventually pull out, you'll get more dig and more WBTC. This is out externally from the rebasing activity that's happening. And then the sushi rewards that are being earned for your LP position, we're earning on your behalf, of course, because you stake those LP tokens with us. We're then taking that sushi and we're staking it for you for X sushi, which is has, I think, about a 40% APY on it. So we're subsequently staking that, and then relatively frequently we're going to be distributing that X sushi back to you. So you're not actually going to be getting sushi, you're going to be getting X sushi, which is a yield-bearing sushi. And that benefits kind of the whole ecosystem, right? As a user, you don't have to do all those transactions, you don't have to pay all that cost, you don't have to spend all that time. You're also getting an asset that naturally is going to grow simply from interest, regardless of price, action, and activity. We're helping sushi because we're preventing folks from dumping that sushi, and we're not dumping that sushi. And we're actually turning them to active participants within their ecosystem, earning from their fees and having a level of vested interest. And then for us, you know, that's the value we bring to the table, and we actually take a percentage of the X sushi that's being rewarded to the user. It's about 20%. And that's how the whole thing works.
That makes sense. And then a last question is really about Claws. I know that it's been mentioned a couple of times.
Is that what are you on the Claw team? Do you like that name, Arbin?
I love the name. I think, you know, make it sticky. You know what I mean? It's like Claws.
It sounds a little like I don't know. It doesn't sound like a serious stable coin. I like it. Don't get me wrong, but it, you know, it has.
I mean, it's similar to like using kind of a, you know, just a name for it, right? I don't think Claws should probably be the name, because I think it can have the wrong kind of meaning, right? So but at the end of the day, I just like the idea of the project, right? And it's the project name. So for me, it's just, I like the idea that Badger, based on the execution and how strong the team has been, there's a strong support from my side in regards to like, hey, a stable token based on the Badger team's abilities and execution with the assets, with now allowing you to actually basically loan stable coins, having your own stable coin in that environment, you know, you have the elements that are actually necessary to really make this sticky. And you have the trust of the community that already trusts you with our WBTC. So therefore, like, you know, that goes a long way. So the big question really is there, is that just an idea, or is that going to go somewhere? What are you thinking of?
We're extremely active on that, actually, Arbin. We're intending to launch it in February, actually, and I've shared some details around who we're collaborating with. But we've been working closely with the UMA team, who specializes at a protocol level in creating synthetic assets, and we're working actively to determine kind of the best go-to-market approach. What I mean by that is, from a technological standpoint, you know, UMA really handles a lot of it, and it's tried and tested, and they've had it in the market for a long time. And it's more, and then putting in our app is pretty straightforward. The vault position represented, you know, in the staking process. So like today you have B Badger, you have BREM BTC curve, for example. So like that infrastructure is already there that represents your vault position. But it's really about how we can do multi-collateral type stable coins. So what we're thinking as a kind of a first out of the gate is to do more of like a fixed loan rather than, you know, a perpetual product, just to get a feel for the user's appetite. But also, you know, we're going down a different path here that we haven't explored before. So we want to be somewhat cautious there, just, you know, because there's so many different things that could happen that we don't want to put at risk for our users and the capital in the system. So what we're thinking is a fixed rate product which is like, for example, you borrow the stable coin, it has a 2-month expiry on it, for example, and then we would activate that as an incentivization program in our vaults, and that would be handled by them. So what we're identifying is, you know, do we do that across all vaults? Do we do that across a handful of the biggest vaults? Which protocols do we incentivize the liquidity for? So for example, Balancer allows you to deposit up to 8 different assets into one of their pools. That could be a quick and easy way for us to turn on a variety of vaults into stablecoin, versus maybe identifying one of our largest vaults, the WBTC ETH SLP vault that has 175 million in it. It's already tied to SushiSwap. Maybe we do something along those lines, because that's also an opportunity for us to attract a lot more of that SLP token from SushiSwap to us. I think there's about 600 million in WBTC ETH SLP that's on SushiSwap today. We have about 25% of it. How do we get that to 75%? And it could also be a way for us to test the waters with this as well, as it relates to, you know, using vault positions to mint stablecoins. So that's where we're at. It's a conversation that we have every day. There's, you know, a lot of people on both teams involved. The process for having the community approve certain things has already started on UMA's side. So you can see in their GitHub, there's been pull requests put forward already with proposals that community members at Badger have put together for an UMA improvement proposal for adding those vault tokens.
I think, Chris, the interesting part for me was really the idea of liquidity pools for a stable token that Badger is putting forward, and then creating a reward system to actually build up massive liquidity pools for that stable token for the Badger ecosystem, and therefore infusing even stronger assets that have a very strong stability into basically the Badger asset value, right? And then that is really something that I'm interested in, because I'm like, okay, that allows us now to build even more momentum on that front, because I hate, you know, increasing the value of Tether and some of the other things. And I think that this could actually work much better, because I feel that if the ethos of the community-driven aspect of this really listens to the voices and opinions, and is really acting quite well. And it's working collectively as a collective conscious on building really great products and great services, and pivoting based on actually the feedback loops. So that's why I'm mentioning, because I'm very excited about your activity on that front, as well as some of the other forecasts that you talked about, REN, BTC, and those collaborations. So very excited. So you got us all hyped up.
I appreciate that, Arvin. I think it's just, I agree with you 100%. It's a massive focus. Like, call a spade, right? Like, everyone that's on this call, everyone that's going to listen to this, you know, we've accelerated in the course of 40 days to, you know, being a top 10 protocol by TVL. But a lot of people treat us as a farm, right? They park their assets, and we're at the top of the stack, to which if they were going to move their assets, they move it from us first versus moving it from other protocols. And that's not sustainable. We can't just keep giving Badger and eventually Dig Out in perpetuity to increase APYs to make us the most attractive place for those assets. We need to bring additional value. And I think this is probably one of the best ways to do that, and to accelerate it relatively quickly, so that we don't find ourselves in a situation where the TVL leaves and then we have to kind of get back on the horse to try to get back to where we were. If we can accelerate to the point with partners where we can activate some of these things while staying security minded, I think that's a great opportunity for the DAO. And that's why I'm suggesting, maybe as a starting point, because developing our own DAI is really hard, right? Like, multi-collateral DAI, like that's a very large initiative. So for us to try and do that in the course of a month and a half, while launching Dig, while creating a new app, while turning on these other features, it's impossible. So that's why we need something to, it's almost like a bridge to that. And I think the fixed rate loan or the fixed rate stable coins, I think those are a great acceleration. I think those will help accomplish what we need to accomplish. UMA's working on a perpetual product, so a product that doesn't have expiry. So that in itself could be another bridge as we continue to work on and collaborate around multi-collateral assets into a single stable coin that doesn't have an expiry date. But I just look at it as like stages, right? So maybe if it's 1 or 2 vaults to start that have the highest TVL, then it's multiple vaults still within expiry, then it's multiple vaults in perpetuity on that stable coin, that could be a good progression for us.
Solid. All right. Well, very excited to see how it unfolds, but yeah, you can count on my commitment and contribution on that front.
Awesome. Thank you, sir. Anything else you guys want to chat about?
Well, let's take one more question. I think you'll wrap up soon. Did someone
Marina, how
unmute?
was Marina's lunch? Was lunch good, Marina?
How did you know?
How do we
Did
know how your lunch was? Because we could hear you talking the whole time.
I'm sorry. I was doing 20 things at the same time. I apologize.
I'm just bugging you. It's all good.
But I would like to connect with you on Telegram.
Sure.
Cool.
Alrighty.
Yeah, I think we can wrap this up. So thanks a lot, everyone, for joining in on this. Hopefully you can join our Discord, check out our forum, forum.badger.finance. We've got a Substack, badger.substack.com. Follow us on Twitter. We're everywhere. Come build.